Tired from a strenuous weekend? Spring fever give you the wanderlust? Want to get away from it all? We offer you Escape.
You are hanging by your fingertips on the sheer face of an ice cliff, suspended 1,000 feet above instant death, with your strength running out, and with no chance for escape.
Escape, designed to free you from the four walls of today for a half hour of high adventure.
Tonight, we escape to the cold loneliness of a glacier high in the Swiss Alps, and to a man who learned much about death, as told in C.E. Montague's grim story, Action. High in the Swiss Alps, well above 12,000 feet, a man clings with desperation to the frozen glass wall of the Chaliot Glacier, hands and feet jammed into shallow steps chopped in iron-hard ice. A cold wind drives a spray of dusty sleet along the overhanging wall, and the sun has fallen away among the crags to the west. Darkness lies 1 hour ahead. The man has climbed with painful care 1,000 feet up the glacier's face from the broken moraine at the foot, and has moved now onto the underside of a great bulge in the ice, a part of the wall which breaks out beyond the perpendicular. And the man is forced to hang from slots cut by his axe, much as a sloth hangs from a tree branch. 12 more feet lie between him and the brow of the overhang. 6 more steps to be chopped out with the axe, and 1,000 feet of void space waits beneath him. The man is unable to lift his heavy axe for even one more stroke. He's tired, and he's 52 years old. No experienced mountaineer would ever attempt the west face of the Chaliot Glacier. And yet this man is an experienced mountaineer. But why? Why? What strange events have conspired to bring him along the path of his life and leave him hanging now in peril on the brink of eternity? Through what shadows has that path led him, and where are those who saw him pass? Can we ourselves move back along it, move back step by step against the river of time, move backward along the life path of Christopher Bell?
My name is Jean Valjour, and I am a guide for all the mountain trails on the Weisshorn and the Chaliorn. I talked with Mr. Bell this morning as he was leaving the village, though, of course, at the time I did not know that was his name. The season is over, you understand. Winter will come in another week or two, and most all the visitors are gone. So you see, I was very surprised to hear a stranger call out to me in English.
Hello there.
Bonjour, monsieur. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Well, I'm glad to see there's at least one other early riser in the village besides myself.
Only a few people are left in the village, sir. It is the end of summer.
The end of summer. How well I know it. Oh, by the way, which of these paths takes me to the foot of the Chaliot?
The one on the left. But you will find no climbing there, sir. One arrives very soon at the glacier and can go no farther.
Except, of course, to climb up it.
The glacier? That is impossible. It has never been done.
Of course not. It's never been tried.
Well, there is not anyone who would be so foolish.
It isn't that. There are plenty of foolish people in the world. But even they hold on to their margin of safety.
Margin of safety?
Yes. The difference between the point where a man thinks he's reached his limit and the point where the limit really is.
Que diable racontez-vous? I'm afraid I do not understand this.
Oh, all right. Well, take a mountaineer such as yourself. Now, you look at a slope. You estimate the effort needed to climb it. Then you estimate your own endurance. And if there isn't a good-sized safety factor, you just don't make the climb.
But it would be foolish not to do so.
Oh, yes, I dare say. It's all tied up in the fear of death. Take that out of a man for one instant, and there's no telling what he might be able to do or what limit he might reach.
And how should a man lose that fear?
He can't. He can't lose it. Has to be done for him by things outside.
He turned and left me then, this Mr. Bell. Walked up the path toward the glacier. That was early this morning, and I did not see him again. His talk with me made no sense, and I could not understand what he meant to do or why he was going to do it. I remember thinking, what a strange man. But I know really nothing more about him. I believe he arrived in the village only last night and took a room in the Zinal Inn.
My name is Greta de Gaspar, and I'm staying out the week here in Zinal to close up the inn for the winter. I have known Mr. Bell for the last 30 years. Always before, he came in the summer season for the climbing, and I was most surprised when he arrived last night. I opened one of the rooms and found something for him to eat, and then later we sat and talked in front of the fire in a big empty lounge.
This is very good coffee, Madame Gaspar.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Bell. Had you let me know, I would have had everything ready for you, just like all the other times.
Like all other times, eh? But this one's a little different, Madame Gaspar. You might call it a special visit.
It is all so different now from the old days. Then it was you and your madame would come here, and it was Gaspar and I. And the summers seemed to last forever.
I thought everything would be forever when she was alive. Now I'm really alone in the world.
As I am. And it is not good to be alone. It gives one little reason for living and makes one no longer afraid of dying.
Yes, but there are stronger reasons for that than just being alone.
Mr. Bell, you look so strange. Is there something troubling you?
I know. Not now. Oh, there may have been, but not now. Well, I shall be leaving quite early in the morning for a climb, so I think I'll go on to bed. Good night, Madame Gaspar.
Mr. Gaspar, I left the inn this morning before I wakened, and I have not seen him again. I have never known him to act so strange before. I have no idea what the reason is, or what he may be planning to do. But I'm sure something is troubling him. Perhaps it may be something connected with his business back in London.
My name is Matthew Bruff. I've been chief clerk in Mr. Bell's London office over the past 25 years. I've always found him to be a considerate and dependable employer. I've never noticed anything you might call unusual about him until one day about 3 weeks ago. Mr. Bell entered the establishment a bit late, as I recall, and passed immediately into his own office without acknowledging my customary greeting. A little while afterward, he sent for me.
Well, Matthew, where do we go from here?
I can't say that I follow you, Mr. Bell.
Well, I mean, the company's on a steady footing, so if we use our heads at all, we don't stand much chance of losing anything.
Our position is quite secure.
On the other hand, we can't expect to do any more growing. We're through expanding. From now on, it's just a matter of operation.
A most enviable condition, sir.
Is it? There's nothing more to look forward to, nothing more to work for. So, as I said, where do we go from here? Matthew, I'm putting you in charge of the business, turning it over to you, effective this week.
Mr. Bell, you can't possibly mean that.
Oh, yes. I've just decided.
But what are you going to do?
I'm taking a trip. I'm going to Switzerland. Climb a mountain.
Oh? Oh, well, then at least it's only temporary, just for whatever time you're gone.
That's right. Yes, for whatever time I'm gone. Just for whatever time I'm gone.
Before the end of the week, he had arranged all the necessary papers and had left London. I haven't heard a word from him since, though I presume he's somewhere in Switzerland. Actually, however, I haven't the faintest idea where Mr. Bell may be right at this moment.
Minutes pass on the glacier, and the shadows grow longer from the jagged peaks to the west of the Shalioc Glacier, and reach out with dark fingers toward the man who clings to the icy wall, while his pounding heart beats out the number of his time on Earth. Already those shadows have flowed into the awful depths below his swaying figure, blurring the sharp points of the tumbled rocks 1,000 feet down, and making the harsh void seem soft and inviting. The man's thoughts have grown as unwieldy as the heavy ice axe gripped in his hand. He keeps trying to remember that he is Christopher Bell, a human being, and not a part of this free and empty space. For he knows if he stops remembering that, he may forget all else too, and then let go.
There's been no reason for trying to locate Mr. Bell, since nothing of any importance has occurred during these 3 weeks. I'm sure he's quite all right. Only one thing still puzzles me a bit. The remarkable change in him on that morning 3 weeks ago. I never heard him talk like that before. And whatever the reason for it, I'm quite sure it was something that happened that morning before he came to the office.
My name is John Huxford, and I've been a conductor on the Westminster route for some 14 years now. And during all that time, Mr. Bell has been a daily passenger of mine on the early morning inbound run. As I recall it, the first time anything you might say out of the way ever happened between us was one morning about 3 weeks ago. I saw Mr. Bell waiting at the usual place, so I signalled to the driver to stop. Oh, good morning, Mr. Bell.
Good morning. I'll be right there.
Here now, let me come down and help you, sir.
I'll make it. If you just take my arm, Mr. Huxford. My arm, please.
But I have taken your arm, Mr. Bell.
Oh, yes, of course. I'm sorry.
Up we go now. There you are, sir.
Thank you. I had a bit of a shock this morning. I'm all right now.
Well, if it's all right now, that's fine, I say. Now take hold of the strap there now.
Oh, yes, of course. Oh, let me see. I have the fare here somewhere. Oh, yes, here you are.
Thank you, sir.
And thank you. I'm afraid you've brought something home to mind.
I don't understand what you mean, sir.
Well, Mr. Huxford, have you ever had anyone take your arm and help you up a flight of steps?
No, and I might say that I hope the day never comes when I... well, I'm sorry, sir.
Not at all. Thank you, Mr. Huxford. Thank you very much.
I don't rightly know what was wrong with him, though it's certain that something was. I haven't seen him for nearly 3 weeks now. I can't imagine what it might have been what happened to him that morning before he got on the bus.
My name is Jenkins. I've been Mr. Bell's personal valet for the past 12 years and 7 months. The master's travelling somewhere on the continent just at present. Been gone something over 2 weeks now. Decided rather suddenly, I believe. In fact, I rather think something happened one morning about 3 weeks ago that caused him to make up his mind, though I really haven't the faintest idea what it might have been. I can remember noticing a very strange look on his face when he came down to breakfast that morning, but thought nothing of it at the time.
Good morning, Jenkins.
Good morning, sir. I trust you had a pleasant night's rest.
Yes, I did. Thanks, Jenkins.
Having the usual, orange juice, toast, and tea.
No, I want nothing except some coffee.
Very well, sir. I'll bring it right away.
I can't let him find out. I can't let anyone find out about it. Maybe it's a little better now. Maybe it's going away. Maybe I'm giving it too much importance, but... No, it's still there. That same lack of feeling clear down the whole right side of my body. There, I can move my arm and leg all right. But there's no feeling in them. They're numb. It's simply that at 52 years of age, I've had a light stroke.
Your coffee, sir.
Oh, thank you, Jenkins.
Would you care for something more, sir?
No, that's all.
If you'll pardon me, sir, you don't seem quite yourself this morning. I do hope you're not ill.
No, I'm all right, Jenkins.
I hope you won't mind my saying this, Mr. Bell, but you don't take very good care of yourself anymore.
Oh, please.
It's been years now since you had a checkup, not since the mistress passed away, in fact.
I'm quite all right, Jenkins. I'm quite all right.
Yes, sir. I'm relieved to hear it, sir. I'll bring your paper now, sir.
Good Lord. Is this what a man slaves his life away for? To end up helpless, dependent on others? To be wheeled about, put out in the sun, taken in like some great fat larva? It's disgusting.
Pardon me, sir. I didn't quite hear you.
Oh, nothing, Jenkins.
Here's your paper, sir.
Oh, thank you.
Please call if you need anything else, sir. I'll be in the pantry.
I couldn't go on that way. I'd rather not go on. I've got to face it. This stroke is the first warning. There'll be others, worse ones. And in a short time, I'll be helpless. There must be some way out. Not suicide, but some way. There's got to be some way.
The icy wall hardens into cold, vitreous steel as the dusk-born shadows chill its surface. The merciless ice is beginning to freeze the cramped joints of the man's fingers now, and the heavy axe swings idly at his belt, tracing a fumbling pattern on the thin air of the void. How much longer can he cling to those slots in the glacier's face? How much longer does he have to live? 30 seconds? A minute? What's the margin of safety now? And what does a man think of while his pulse beats slower and he waits to die?
Strange how I'm able to go on, hanging to this slope, clinging on to life. I can't feel another ounce of strength left in me. Strange, too, how it seems I could stay here forever, becoming part of the glacier itself, looking down at the rocks below and out across the peaks and the ice. I was right. Dying isn't so bad, really. Not when it's like this. Rather pleasant, in fact. It looks so soft down there, the shadows and the snow, and the wind. Perhaps I could let go, float out on the wind like an eagle, or be blown along by it like drifting snow. Well, the sun's gone now. It will be full dark in a few minutes. Maybe I can hold on that long, till everything is dark, even the snow and the ice. And who knows, perhaps I'll watch the sun rise tomorrow and set again, and even beyond. Oh, no. I can't last even one full minute longer. I'm through. I'm finished. I can't even last a half. Huh? Chips of ice sliding over the edge. It's funny how a glacier sheds off that way. I suppose the difference in temperature between day and... Oh, wait. An ice axe. That was an axe. No other sound in the world like it. Fell from up above the overhang there. There must be somebody up there on the slope, coming down from the top. Hello! There is. Wait, that's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Hello! That's a mountaineer's call for help. Someone's dropped his axe and he's in trouble up there. It's right above this bulge. If I can only... No, my throat's too dry. Well, 6 more steps to cut to reach the edge there. All right. 6 more steps. I was done in. I was finished. And now... Now... 5 more steps. Just about does it. The last step.
Kid, cut the rope and let me go. There's no use of us
Good
both
Lord, it's a
going.
woman, and there's a man upon the slope. Hold on up there.
What?
I'll be with you in a minute.
Kid, somebody's coming. There's someone down here.
Over the edge. Take it easy there. Everything's going to be all right.
Oh, thank heaven. I don't know where you came from, but thank heaven you're here.
Here, easy now. Let's get a step out for your feet. I'm just below the overhang there. I heard the fellow up above call out. He's got quite a voice on him.
It's my husband. Please hurry.
Easy now. Step out here in a second. You can put your feet on it. You get your breath. Then we'll tackle the slope.
All right.
Here now. I'll scrape this ice away. Easy now. There. Oh, that's better, isn't it?
Oh, yes.
Oh, you're all right now. Just lean there. When you feel like it, we'll go on up.
Huh?
Oh, my name is Christopher Bell, by the way.
I'm Anna Gerlin.
How'd you do?
Thank you. I thought we were done. I was cutting steps down ahead on the slope, and I slipped and dropped my axe. The rope held me, but neither of us dared to move.
Oh, yes. Well, you're all right now. As soon as you rest up a minute, we'll cut some more steps back up the slope. You shouldn't have started down this way. You've never been able to pass that bulge.
Yes, I can see that now. Of course, it's harder to tell when you're moving down the slope.
Yes, I suppose it is.
You were coming up the slope, weren't you?
Yes, I came up from the foot.
Alone and without a rope. And you deliberately climb onto the underside of an overhanging wall.
Well, let's just say we're both foolhardy.
Is that what you call it?
If you've got your breath back now, suppose we start up the slope. Oh, here. I'd like to take my axe and cut the first step.
You'd trust me with it? After I dropped my own?
Oh, anybody could make a mistake like that, dropping an axe. Or climbing up under an overhang.
My name is Theodore Gerlin, and I'm the husband of the woman who slipped and fell on the wall of the glacier. I'm a physician, formerly of Harley Street, London, though I've practiced in Paris for several years now. I met Mr. Bell when he and my wife reached the ice ledge where I stood waiting above them. I was not immediately aware of his trouble, but found out about it a short time later when we reached the rest hut at the top of the ridge. While my wife heated water for tea at the far side of the room, Bell and I fell into a much more personal conversation than strangers normally do. Well, this sometimes happens when people have been very close to death.
At any rate, Dr. Gerlin, well, you can see how it is. The life of an invalid doesn't seem very appealing to
Tell me something, Mr. Bell.
Huh?
I gather you were pretty well done in when I called out there on the glacier. You couldn't lift a hand. Then how do you account for being able to chop 6 steps into that ice in a matter of some 5 minutes?
I don't know exactly. I was through. I couldn't have lasted 30 seconds more. But when I realized someone was in danger, I don't know, I forgot about it.
And this numbness, this lack of feeling in your right side, it didn't bother you?
No, I didn't notice. It isn't quite so bad now, as a matter of fact.
And there's your answer, Mr. Bell.
I don't believe I follow.
Action. When you were in action, working because you had a reason, living because you had to, because somebody was depending on you, then you were all right. Everything was back in its place again.
Oh, perhaps, but a man can't spend all his time climbing up a mountain to save someone's life.
Oh, I don't mean physical action, movement. Call it incentive, if you like. Maybe that's a better way to put it.
Incentive, eh?
That's right. It's the one top pressure that keeps life moving and growing. And it's what you need.
Well, it's an interesting theory, Doctor.
Yeah, but it's only a theory, eh?
I'll have the tea ready in a moment. Is anybody interested?
I am, my dear. Lucky we brought it.
If no one minds, I believe I'll have a turn outside while we're waiting.
Of course not. Only be careful out there in the dark. The ridge breaks off pretty sharply here.
Oh, yes, I'll be careful. Oh, Dr. Gerlin.
Yes?
If things were turned around, I wonder if it would be any more than just a theory to you.
Mr. Bell, where are you?
I'm over here, Mrs. Gerlin.
Beautiful, isn't it? With the stars so clear and bright.
Yes. Well, there won't be any more clear nights before the winter storms.
It would be a shame to give it up, you and I.
What do you mean?
I've got to say this quickly, because I don't want my husband to know. We're not the kind who commit suicide, you and I, but I think we understand each other.
Well, you'll have to say more than that.
You deliberately climbed into a dead end out on that glacier, deliberately extended your safety margin beyond all possible limits, didn't you?
What do you mean, we understand each other?
Because I did the same thing. I went ahead. I picked that route down the slope.
But,
No, please wait. In 30 seconds, I would have cut myself loose from that rope. Oh, we went to an awful lot of trouble so we wouldn't have to call it suicide, didn't we?
You? But why?
I have a brain condition. There's no point in going into it, but it's incurable. And sooner or later, at any moment, I shall go blind.
Oh, no.
My husband doesn't know about it, and I don't want him to. Mr. Bell.
Yes?
I'll make a bargain with you.
What sort of bargain?
I'm not brave, really. To go on living, I need something to cling to. I need to know all the time that there's someone else with courage, too. Mr. Bell, I'll go on living if you will.
I'd say you're amazingly brave.
If I were, I could do it alone, without having to make myself dependent on you and your courage.
Well, that sort of thing could work both ways. I wouldn't dare let you down.
Nor could I you. Do you want to make the bargain? Shall we go on living, Mr. Bell?
As I said before, I am Dr. Theodore Gerlin, and I met Mr. Bell some 3 hours ago on the Shalioch Glacier. At the moment, he's outside the hut a few yards away talking to my wife. I can hear the sound of their voices, but I can't make out the words. However, I know what they're talking about, what his answer will be. My wife and I discussed that before she went out to join him. You may have heard of my wife, incidentally, though it would likely have been under the stage name she uses in the Paris theater. You see, she's quite a talented actress.
Escape is produced and directed by Norman MacDonald, and tonight brought you Action by C.E. Montague, adapted for radio by Les Crutchfield, and featuring Joseph Kearns as Christopher Bell and Eric Rolfe as the voice, with Louis Van Ruten as Dr. Golan, Marta Mitrovich as Greta, Jeff Corey as Bruff, Ray Lawrence as Huxford, Barry Kroger as Jenkins, and Joan Banks as Mrs. Golan. The musical score was conceived and conducted by Wilbur Hatch. Next week.
You are in mid-ocean, aboard a Jinx ship. Already 3 men have died, and you know that some malignant force is aimed at you. And you cannot escape.
Next week, Escape with Joseph Conrad's great story, The Brute. Good night, then, until the same time next week, when we again offer you Escape. This is CBS, where 99 million people gather every week, the Columbia Broadcasting System.
Did you have too many Easter eggs today? Dreaming about that vacation you can't take yet? Want to get away from it all?
We offer you Escape.
You are groping your way slowly through the dark hold of a ship at sea. moving carefully, step by step, searching intently for something you dread to find, because you know that this ship carries a cargo of death.
Escape, designed to free you from the four walls of today for a half hour of high adventure.
Tonight, at your request, we bring back one of our most popular escape stories. We escape to a harbor front in Venezuela and a grim voyage which started from there, as told by Martin Storm in his gripping tale, A Shipment of Mute Fate.
I stopped on the wharf at La Guaira, looked up the gangplank toward the liner Chankay, standing there quietly at her moorings. The day was warm under a bright tropic sun. The harbor beyond the ship lay drowsy and silent. But all at once, in the midst of those peaceful surroundings, a cold chill gripped me, and I shivered with sudden dread. Dread of the thing I was doing and was about to do. But too much had happened to turn back now. I'd gone too far to stop. I set the box down on the edge of the wharf, placed it carefully so as to be in plain sight, and within gunshot of the captain's bridge. I knew what I was going to do, but I couldn't forget that a certain pair of beady eyes were watching every move I made. Eyes that never blinked and never closed, just watched and waited. I turned and started up the gangplank.
Oh, you startled me, sir. Why, it's Mr. Warner.
Hello, Mother Willis. How's the best-looking stewardess on the Seven Seas?
Why, I'm fine, Mr. Warner. I guess I'd better run along now. Get on with my chores.
Oh, now, wait a minute. That's a fine greeting after 2 months.
It's just that I'm so busy.
I don't believe a word of it. Sailing day's tomorrow. You're simply avoiding me, that's all.
Oh, no, really, I'm not.
And on the trip down from New York, you said I was your favorite passenger.
But I'm only in
Here, what's that you're carrying in your apron?
Oh, it's nothing. Just supplies.
Supplies? Let's have a look.
No, please.
It's a cat.
It's Clara, Mr. Warner. Mr. Bowman said I had to leave her ashore, and I just couldn't.
Who's Mr. Bowman?
The new second mate. Clara's been aboard with me for 2 years, and I just can't leave her here in a foreign country, especially with her condition so delicate and all.
Yes, I see. Well, I hope you get away with it.
You won't tell anyone?
Not a soul. As a matter of fact, if things don't work out right, we may both end up smuggling.
Most happy to have you aboard on the trip down 2 months ago, Christopher, and I'm very glad you're coming along with us on the run back to New York.
Well, thanks, Captain Wood. There is one thing, though. I'm having a little trouble with the customs men here, and I wondered
I can't do it, Christopher. I just cabled your father this morning. Told him I'd have done it for you if I possibly could. He sent a request from New York, you know.
Yeah, I thought he would. I wired him from upriver last week.
I hated to refuse, but it's absolutely out of the question.
Captain Wood, I'm afraid I don't follow you.
Responsibility to the passengers, son. We'll have women and children aboard. On a liner, the safety of the passengers comes ahead of anything else.
But with proper precautions...
Something might happen.
What?
I don't know what, but something might.
Carried worse things.
There isn't anything worse. Any skipper afloat will bear me out. No, Christopher, I simply can't take the chance, and that's final.
Final. Wasn't final if I could do anything about it. I hadn't come down here to spend 2 months in that stinking backcountry and then be stopped on the edge of the wharf. 2 months of it. Heat, rain, insects, malaria. I'd gone clear in past the headwaters of the Orinoco. Traveled through country where every step along the jungle trail might be the last one. Sanchez!
Si, Senor Warner.
Better start looking for a place to camp. Be dark in a little while.
Si, senor. Very soon we turn to rebel. Camp on rocks by water. This very bad country.
This very bad country. We've been staying here for 10 days now. Very bad country.
Si, Senor Warner. This very bad country.
Yeah, skip it. For all the luck we've had so far, it might as well be Central Park.
Central Park? I don't understand.
Never mind. Yeah, what's the matter? Quiet now! Sanchez, what's wrong?
They're in the park. See, Bushmaster.
Bushmaster. The deadliest snake in the world. Bushmaster. His Latin name was Lachesis muta, mute fate. It lay there in the center of the path, a 10-foot length of silent death, coiled loosely in an undulant loop, ready to strike violently at the least movement. Here was the one snake that would go after any animal that walked, or any man. It lay there and watched us, not moving, not afraid, ready for anything. The splotch of its color stood out like some horrible, gaudy floor mat lying there on the brown background of the jungle, waiting for someone to step on it. Here was what I'd come 2,000 miles for, a bushmaster. The natives captured the snake, and Sanchez brought it to me in a rubber bag. He was shaking so hard I thought for a moment the thing had struck him.
One thing you make sure, Senor Warner. Not turn him loose in Venezuela. Because he know I the one who catch him. And he know where I live.
All right, Sanchez, I'll keep an eye on him.
He also know you pay me to catch him. All the time he watch and wait. You no forget that, Senor Warner, because he no forget. Not ever.
Well, after going through all that trouble and danger and laying out $1,500, I wasn't going to let a pig-headed ship captain stop me at the last minute. At least not as long as the cables were still in operation between La Guaira and New York. Good morning, Captain Wood. The boy at the hotel said you wanted to see me.
That's right, Christopher. Sit down.
Thanks.
Seems you weren't willing to let matters stand the way we left them yesterday.
I'm sorry to go over your head, Captain Wood, but I had to. The museum sent me a long way to get that snake. I'm not going to be stopped by red tape. This will be the only live bushmaster I ever brought to the United States.
Yes, if I had my way. But... Orders are orders. Got a cable from the head office this morning. All right, Christopher, suppose we talk about precautions.
I'll handle it any way you say.
It's got to have a stronger box. That crate's too flimsy.
Well, it's stronger than it looks. That wire screen on top would hold a wildcat. But anyway, I bought a heavy sea chest this morning. We'll put the crate inside of it.
Sounds all right. Got a lock on it.
Yeah, a heavy padlock. It's fixed so the lid can be propped open a crack without unlocking it. Snake's got to have air.
In dirty weather, that lid has to stay shut. I'll take no chances.
Fair enough.
We'll keep the thing in my inside cabin where I sleep. You can't have it in the baggage room. And nobody on board is to know about it.
Whatever you say, Captain. We won't have any trouble after all. It's only an animal. It doesn't have any magical powers.
I saw a bushmaster in the zoo at Caracas once. They had it in a glass cage with double walls. It never moved. Just lay there and looked at you as long as you were in sight. Enough to give a man the creeps.
I didn't know they had a bushmaster at the Caracas Zoo.
They don't now. They found the glass broken one morning and the snake gone, the night watchman dead. They never learned exactly what happened.
Well, the watchman must have broken the glass by accident some way.
The way they figured it, the glass was broken from the inside. We sail in 4 hours.
Into the Caribbean with perfect weather and a sea as smooth as an inland lake. The barometer dropped a little on the third day, but cleared up overnight, left nothing worse than a heavy swell. But in spite of the calm seas and pleasant weather, I found myself feeling more and more often an ominous foreboding. I was developing an almost unnatural fear of that snake. Stayed clear of the passengers pretty much, got the habit of dropping into Captain Wood's quarters several times a day. Kept the heavy box underneath his berth. Approach it quietly and shine my flashlight through the open crack. Never once could I catch that 12-foot devil asleep, or even excited. He'd be lying there half-coiled, his head raised a little, staring out of those beady black eyes, waiting. It'd still be like that when I turned away to leave. Maybe that's what bothered me. That horrible and constant watchful waiting. In the name of heaven was he waiting for?
Well, hello there, Mr. Warner.
Oh, how are you, Mother Willis?
My, but you and the captain spend an awful lot of time around this cabin. I'm beginning to think the two of you must have some guilty secret.
No, nothing like that, Mother Willis. I don't know about Captain Wood, but I certainly don't have any guilty secret. Well, she's running quite a swell out there, Mr. Bowman.
Yeah, it's a little heavy, all right, Mr. Warner. Guess a storm passed through to the west of us yesterday when the glass dropped.
You think it missed us then, huh?
Yeah, that's what the mate figures. Sure stirred up some water, though.
This'll put half the passengers in their bunks. They'll keep Mother Willis so busy Hey, look at the size of that wave.
Huh? Great Jehoshaphat, we're going to take it on the port bow. Hang on!
That was a freak if there ever was one. Not another wave that size in sight.
Oh, you see them like that sometimes, even in a calm sea. I got to get below, Mr. Warner. That water probably did some real damage in the officer's deck.
Yeah, What did you say?
The wheel companionway was open on the port side. The bridge cabins must have taken a pretty bad smashing up. They're right below the... Something wrong, Mr. Warner?
No, nothing at all, Mr. Bowman. At least I hope not. I didn't stop to find Captain Wood. Of course, I know it was only one chance in 1,000, but the chances against that freak wave were 1 in 1,000, too. I stumbled down the companionway and along the passage to the captain's cabin.
Oh, come in, Mr. Warner.
Mother Willis.
My, isn't this cabin a mess? Trying to get some of these things out to dry.
Yeah, well, I just wanted to... Where's that box that was under the captain's bunk?
Oh, that? Well, I just threw it out on the deck.
What?
Well, the desk over there slid into it. It was all smashed.
But the small box inside of it, what happened to it?
Oh, they were both splintered, Mr. Warner. Broke wide open.
No.
Well, Mr. Warner, you're white as a sheet.
Mother Willis, go find Captain Wood. Tell him to come down here immediately.
Well, of course, Mr. Warner. I'll go tell him right away. I can finish up here later.
I pulled open the top drawer of the bureau inside. Took out the captain's flashlight and loaded pistol. Mother Willis had left a mop standing by the door. I put my foot on the head of it and snapped off the handle. Every move I made turned into slow motion. I could hear my own heart beating. Slowly, I started to search the cabin. Sodden heaps of clothing and furnishings were scattered around on the wet black floor. I punched at them one at a time, holding the gun cocked, flashlight pointing along the stick. Nothing. I worked around the room, throwing the light into the dark corners, back of the desk, under the bunk. Wherever I turned, I could feel those cold, unblinking eyes at my back, watching, waiting. Using the stick, I pushed open the closet door and threw the light inside. Carefully, I poked at the boxes and junk on the floor. Snake was not in the closet. Inch by inch, I covered the entire cabin. And only then a horrible realization began to dawn on me. Captain Wood.
Mother Willis just told me. Well, Christopher, it's happened.
That's right, it's happened.
I see you found the gun. We better start searching the cabin here.
Captain Wood, I just finished searching it.
Oh, then. Women, kids, and that thing loose on board. 1,000 places for it to hide. Heaven help us, Christopher. Starting to blame anybody now, gentlemen. I didn't call you in here to pass judgment. The thing's done, and that's that.
Well, you're right there, Captain.
What we have got to do is to make up our minds how we're going to handle it.
And it'd be easier if we didn't have to tell the passengers and crew. I've seen panics aboard liners before.
Yes, I agree with you, Mr. Bowman. But I don't quite see how we can avoid it.
They got a right to know. As long as that snake's loose, everybody on board's in the same danger, and they all ought to know about it.
Captain Wood, that thing is 12 feet long. It can't simply crawl into a crack. Why don't we make a quick search of the whole ship before we spread any alarm?
I've thought of that, Christopher.
As far as I can see, the only place it couldn't be is in the boilers or on top of the galley stove.
Well, it might have crawled overboard.
We can't count on that. We've got to assume it's on the ship somewhere.
Yeah, and that could be anywhere. In a coil of rope, on a deck chair.
Fire bucket or in a pile of clothes.
Yes, or under some woman's berth or a baby's crib.
You've already said it. Bushmaster could be anywhere. We've got to do something. We've got to do it fast.
All right. I think the best idea is to follow Mr. Warner's suggestion and make a quick search first. You agree to that?
Right.
And if we don't find it, we'll have to warn the passengers.
We've got to find it. Alone in the dim baggage room, I went through the same movements as I had earlier in the captain's cabin. Gun in one hand, flashlight in the other, poking into every dark corner, behind every trunk and box. Since the baggage room was empty, I could keep the gun cocked and ready. The rest of those poor devils were having to do the same thing. Barehanded. All over the ship, the search went on.
Here now, Stuart, what on earth are you doing rummaging through my cabin?
Just checking up, ma'am.
Well, I'm quite sure there's nothing in here that has to be checked.
Sorry, ma'am. Captain's orders. It'll only take a few minutes.
Well, I never heard of such a thing. A passenger simply doesn't have any privacy at all. I've traveled on a lot of different lines, but I've certainly never heard of anything.
Sorry, sir. I wonder if you mind moving over to the other rail. I'd like to look through these lockers.
Sure, go ahead. What's the matter? You lost something?
No, just looking things over.
Oh, there's nothing in there but life preservers.
Yeah, that's right.
You must be getting ready to sink the boat. Gonna collect the insurance, huh? Gonna send us all to the bottom, huh?
But not one of us could find that deadly shape, coiled in some dark corner or outstretched along a window seat. Not one of us caught a glimpse of that horrid head with its beady, black, watchful eyes. The thing lay waiting out there somewhere along the decks, shaded in the gathering dusk. But where? We didn't know. It was nearly dark when we met together again in the chart room.
Well, gentlemen, there's no other way around it. We've risked all the time we can. We've got to warn the passengers.
How'll we do it, Captain? Call them all together in the lounge?
No, if we did anything like that, we'd be asking for a panic.
We'll get one, whether we ask for it or not.
And we pick a few men and go through the cabin decks. Tell them individually, inside their cabins. Watch for any that act like they might cause trouble. We'll keep an eye on them. Handle crew the same way.
Right, Captain.
As soon as you're finished, arm all the deck officers and start searching again. Our only chance of preventing a riot is to find that damnable snake.
The slow nightmare that followed grew worse by the hour. None of us slept. All the ship's officers not on duty kept on with that endless search. Passengers locked themselves in their cabins or huddled together in the lounges, knowing all the time that no spot on board could be called safe. Fear was a heavy fog in the lungs of all of us, and every light on the vessel burned throughout the night. Morning came, brought no relief. Terror and tension mounted by the hour.
There now, Mrs. Crane, stop getting yourself all worked up and go back to your cabin.
Oh.
The horrid thing's probably crawled overboard
Oh,
anyway.
you're just saying that. You're paid to say that. You don't know. Nobody knows.
Now, everything's going to be all right.
If only we can do something. If all of us could only get off the ship, they could fumigate it. Yes, that's it. We've got to get off the ship. We've got to get off the ship.
Wait. Mr. Bowman, she's going to jump. Grab her.
No, you don't, lady.
Let me go.
Nice work, Mr. Bowman. Get her down to her cabin. And whatever you do, don't turn her loose.
You never know when it might strike you. You can't put on a coat or move a chair without risking your life. Something's got to be done. It might be right here in this lounge.
Yeah, all right, Mitchell. Now, better quiet down and take it easy.
Take it easy. You're a great officer. Why don't you do something about it? That thing might be crawling around here right under our feet somewhere.
I said shut up. Are you trying to start a panic?
I got a right to talk. I don't want to die. Nobody's going to tell me what.
The second night passed. Morning came round again. A gray and rainy day that dragged past. And then night came down again. Third night of the terror. Again, every light burned. The whole ship seethed in the throes of incipient panic. Faced by a horror they'd never met on the sea before, crew and officers alike were on the verge of revolt. Passengers sat huddled in a trance-like stupor, ready to scream at the slightest unknown sound. 7 bells, I made my way forward to the chart room, found Captain Wood bent over a desk.
Oh, hello, Christopher. Come on in. Sit down.
It's got to be somewhere, Captain Wood. It's got to be.
I don't know. You could search the ship for 6 months and never touch all the places aboard. If we can only hold out for 2 more days, we'll be in.
What's the Home Office say?
We'll use the latest wireless from them. Keep quiet and keep coming. What else can we do? How is it on the decks?
Pretty bad. Anything could happen.
Yes, that's why I took the guns away from the men. 1 pistol shot and we'd have a riot on our hands.
Whole thing's my fault, Captain Wood. That's what I can't forget.
Take it easy.
Now, if there was only some way I could pay for it myself alone.
No. I know how you feel. But it's no more your fault than mine, or the man who asked you to bring that snake back alive. Nobody planned this. You'd better try to get a little sleep, boy.
Sleep?
Mr. Bowman made some coffee down in the steward's galley a while ago. Why don't you go on down and get yourself a cup? Then rest for a couple of hours, huh?
Rest? I can't rest.
Christopher, it's not going to help anything if you stumble through a hatch half asleep and break your neck, is it? You go out and get some coffee. One way or another, we've got to hold out for 2 more days.
Light was on the steward's galley. Coffee pot was standing on the stove. Still warm, so I didn't bother to heat it. Poured out a cup, carried it over, and set it on the porcelain tabletop center of the room. Started to light a cigarette. The door of the pan cupboard beneath the sink was standing slightly ajar. I happened to glance toward it. I dropped the cigarette, moved slowly backward. I'd found the Bushmaster. As I moved, the snake slid out of the cupboard in a single sinuous glide, drew back into a loose coil on the galley floor, never taking his eyes off me. I moved slowly back, waiting any moment for that deadly, slithering strike. How had he known it was me? He'd stayed quiet when Bowman was here. How had he picked the first time in 5 days that I was without a gun? My hands touched the bulkhead behind me, and I stopped. Only then I realized in terror what I'd done. The call button and the door were on the far side of the room. I'd backed into a dead end. I stared at the snake in fascination, expecting any moment the ripping slash of those poison fangs. The horrid coils tightened a little, then were still again. 10 million years of evolution to produce this moment. Homo sapiens versus Lachesis muta. A man against mute fate. And all the odds were on fate. I knew then that I was going to die. I could feel the sweat run down between the painted walls and the palms of my hands pressing against it. My skin crawled and twitched, and the pit of my stomach was as cold as ice. There was no sound but the rush of blood in my ears. The snake shifted again, drawing into a tighter coil, always tighter. Why didn't the devil get it over with? Then, just for an instant, his head veered away. Something moved over by the stove. I didn't dare turn to look at it. Slowly, it moved out into my line of vision. It was a cat. That scrawny cat Clara that Mother Willis had sneaked aboard in La Guaira. Its back was arched and every hair stood on end. It moved, stiff-legged now, walking in a half circle around the snake. The Bushmaster moved slowly and kept watching the cat. He tightened. He was going to strike at any second. He struck and missed. The cat was barely out of reach. Now she was walking back and forth again. She was asking to die. Missed again. By a fraction of an inch. He was striking now without even going to a full coil. Missed. Again and again, always missing by the barest margin. Each time the cat danced barely out of reach, and each time she countered with one precise spat of a dainty paw, bracing her skinny frame on 3 stiff legs. And then suddenly I realized what she was doing. The Bushmaster was tiring. And one strike was just an instant slow, but in that split second, sharp claws raked across the evil head and ripped out both the lidless eyes. The cat had deliberately blinded the snake. He didn't bother to coil now, but slid after her in a fury, striking wildly and rapidly, always missing. And every strike was a little slower than the last one, until finally... As the snake's neck stretched out at the end of a strike, the cat made one leap and sank her razor-sharp teeth just back of the ugly head. Sank her until they crunched bone. Tooth and claw, she clung as the monstrous snake flailed and lashed on the floor, striving to get those hideous coils around her, trying to break her hold, to shake off the claw in certain paralyzing death that gradually crept over him and at last stilled his struggles forever. I took a deep breath. The first in minutes. The cat lay on her side on the floor, panting, resting from the fight just over. She had a right to rest. That mangy, brave, beautiful alley cat had just saved my life. And maybe others as well. But as I turned toward the stove, I suddenly became very humble. And I knew all at once what a small thing a human being really is. I and others aboard were still alive only by the merest accident. There were 3 reasons why that cat had fought and killed the world's deadliest snake. And those 3 reasons came tottering out from under the stove on shaky little legs. 3 kittens with their eyes bright with wonder and their tails stiff as pokers. Up on the decks, hundreds of passengers were waiting for the news that the days and nights of terror were ended. They could wait a little longer. I pulled open the doors of the cabinet, found a can of milk. Then I dropped down on my knees on the floor of the galley.
Escape is produced and directed by Norman MacDonald, and tonight brought you A Shipment of Mute Fate by Martin Storm, adapted for radio by Les Crutchfield, featuring Harry Bartell as Chris Warner, Barry Kroger as Captain Wood, and Peggy Weber as Mother Willis, with Don Diamond, Sarah Selby, and Frank Gerstle. Special effects by David Light. The musical score was conducted by Wilbur Hatch. Next week...
You are hanging by your fingertips on the sheer face of an ice cliff, suspended 2,000 feet above instant death, with your strength running out, and with no chance for escape.
Next week, Escape with C.E. Montague's exciting story, Action. Good night, then, until this same time next week, when CBS again offers you Escape. This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.